Cash is not king, cash flow is king. The thing to understand is that you take your time and you trade it for income, right? That income is actually debt. A lot of people don't realize that. There's no real money in the system. There's a 120% debt to income ratio in America, and so every bit of income we get paid is actually debt. So we trade time and we labor for income. The key is to take that income and create cash flow. Think of Warren Buffett, right? He said that if you can't make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. So what I started to do that freed me from the system is every single time I got income, okay, I took 10% and I built out cash flow. So the first thing I did is I understand how to run businesses. I scaled businesses. Now the first time when I started a business, I had a very expensive job. I worked inside the business and I hadn't scaled it yet, so I was still trading time for income. But when I learned how to scale my businesses, that was one way for me to stop giving up time for income. That's a form of cash flow. Another form of cash flow is if you're in a job trading time for income, you can get into things like dividend stocks, okay? That's one of my specialties. So every single time I get income, I take 10% of my income and I give myself a pay raise. What is a dividend stock? A dividend stock, example, if I put money into Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola will give you about 2 to 3% per year. So by taking my income and putting it into a dividend stock, I'm getting paid for doing nothing. Warren Buffett, one of his largest holdings is Coca-Cola, and I think he gets paid about $1 million a day off Coca-Cola. He doesn't run the business. He doesn't manage team members. He's just a smart investor and buys into dividend stocks, okay? So we need to understand that our time is being traded for income, which is actually debt. So we want to take some of our income and we want to create cash flow because that's how we start to escape the matrix. As we take income outside of debts and non-negotiables and the cash flow, we're making money now. Okay, the key factor is what do you do with that money? With inflation, you're actually losing buying power every single year. So what I do with my income outside of debts and non-negotiable, my cash flow, is I move them into assets that beat inflation. Example, things like BTC and XRP, fixed supply assets. Now the key factor is when I profit from these assets, I move the profit into protection, cash value life insurance. What that did is it took my income, I got a pay raise, richest man in Babylon, that created cash flow. I put into assets that beat inflation. When those profit, I created protection, which now creates leverage. And now guess what I can do with that leverage is I can go back in and buy more cash flow and buy more assets that beat inflation. The key factor is to stop trading time for income and monetizing more debt, making yourself poor. We want to take time into income, create cash flow,